Hi everybody, Rob, John Deere Machinery. So a little bit of insight into the X167R. If you've got one, you probably understand what it is. If you haven't got one, looking to buy one, a bit of information, brief about maintenance and just looking after it. And if you have got one and you don't know what you're doing with it, well, it's a good recap, isn't it? So X167R. It's got the 42-inch deck. We've got the rear box for this one, the collecting. Okay, so just a quick run through on some bits, and then a few like fault finding things that often come up when people ring up about the tractors, and then I'll show you the box, and then that kind of gives you a bit of info. So, oil. The book will tell you every time you use it. Who reads the books and who checks the car oil every week? Nobody does. Basically, on the side here, that's your oil. You've got your two markers there, and it should sit in between those two holes. All right, when you check it, guys, all you're doing is just placing it back on. You're not twisting it in, all right? Once you've done that, then you can twist it back in again. Just make sure you put it on, because it's a damn awful mess if you don't, all right? Because you're everywhere, all right? So that's the first one. Second one's battery, especially in the winter. Either start your engine up every week just to get it running a bit, 10 minutes or so, get everything warmed up, get a little bit of juice going through the battery. If it starts getting cold and you're not going to use it, you wouldn't do a harm with a bit of a trickle charge every now and then. And what I mean by trickle charge is 12-volt charger, and it's just going to slowly put a bit of juice in. So leave it overnight, throughout the day, turn it off at night to wherever you're comfortable with, and that will just stop the battery from depleting, all right? And the other good thing to pay attention to is tyre pressure. I believe it's 14 on the front, 10 on the back on these. If you have wonky tyre pressure, you will get wonky cuts. Simple as that. So don't have one at 10, one at 20, one at 5. It'll ride different. No matter what height you put your deck at, it's kind of relevant to what the tyre pressures are. So 14 and 10, all right? PSI, that is. And then if I come around, and that stays there. Obviously the bonnet opens nice and easy, like so. What I will say is when it gets cold, and I mean in sort of like minus figures, these bonnets become quite brittle, all right? So you notice that opens up quite a long way. If you just open it up like that and let go of it, you've got a good chance that's going to snap off the end. And I know you'll be crying in the corner because they're expensive. The other thing to keep an eye on is keeping your deck clean, all right? So when it comes in for a service, which you should do every year, decks are always chocked up, We expect that on a service. We take the decks off, we give it a clean. But to help yourself a bit and help taking a bit of pressure off the belts and the pulleys and things, you can use a deck wash. Most tractors now have a deck wash. Put the hose pipe on, full blast on the hose pipe, turn the blades on, it gets rid of a lot of it. And there's one both sides on this tractor, one there, and the other one's like hidden down in between that plastic kind of cowling down there. If you can't get it off, there's no harm putting on little front ramps like the car ramps and just giving it a scrape round, all right? A few more things on these. So seat, should I say. Well, let's go back slightly. Obviously fuel. Always check you've got fuel in the tank, and always use good quality fuel. Under there you've got a seat sensor switch. Just make sure this hasn't been snagged anywhere, or any little rodents haven't had a bit of a nibble on that. So it's all this thing. You can have it checked first before you ring up and say it's not working. Always get on the left-hand side of the tractor. Mainly, one, you either can have the brake on that side, or no pedals, so you can't get it. It shouldn't move, but you never know. So on these tractors, on all tractors, if it's not starting, for instance, make sure you've got your pedal right to the floor, all right? Just a little ½ inch off will make it start, so make sure it's all the way down. Another thing we find is, if that comes around to, you've got your blade engagement lever there. If you've just got off the tractor and it's all stopped, you come back to it and it's not working, then just double check that. Sometimes just put it up and down before you start, just to make sure he's off, because otherwise you won't get anything. Right then, so The other thing to check on with a bag, and I'll take this off to show you, so we should all know how to empty the bag. So we've taken the box off. Something to check, especially on the direct collect tractors with boxes. You've got your, that's a safety switch. You can see that on the camera. Yeah. If you haven't got your box on properly, or if you're taking the box off and then go to start it, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, that's your safety button. Make sure you've got the connection there. Make sure that's on, hasn't been knocked. You know, so that's the thing to check. If you are wanting to chuck the grass out the back, you know, they do a rear discharge option chute, which will have a bar that sits over there. We'll depress that. Okay, so you can't engage the blades without that being depressed. All right. While I've got this off, you know, you've got your hydrostatic dump valve, which is, I don't know if Nat needs to come in closer, but that lever there. So as it is at the moment, it's difficult to push. Pull that out, and then the tractor will free wheels. Okay. So just make sure, if your drive isn't working, make sure that hasn't been pulled out or caught, you know, even taking the bag off. So little things like that. It all builds a picture of what could be wrong with the tractor, if anything, or whether it's just an oversight by the person using it. So when you put the box back on, and I don't know where Nat wants to stand, I've got to stand this side. They can be tricky, you know, wherever it's got a box, the tractor with the box, they can be tricky. If you haven't got it on, I'm going to put it on wrong to start with. So if you do that and you think you've got it on right, you think, oh, that looks all right, and it doesn't start, you obviously haven't got this metal bar here. I don't know if that shows up in the camera. That metal bar there isn't sitting in that bit there, which then depresses the switch. All right. So you've got to make sure you're getting your box. Oh, and you fell over. Like, not like that. And I will say these can be a real. There you go. They can be a real pig to put on. That's just a few things you can run through to make sure you've covered everything before you ring your local dealer or you ring us and say, don't work. All right. I think that's it on the 167R. So as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.